Okay, it's about 3 minutes after 2, so we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I would like to welcome our IIAMC members and IMS participants. Please know that you are all very important to us, and we greatly appreciate your time this afternoon as we welcome our newest IMS carrier, Frederick Mutual Insurance Company. We are so excited to have them participating in our IMS program, and today we have Jill Showalter, who is Frederick Mutual's Chief Operating Officer, Sharon Price, Assistant Vice President of Commercial Lines, and Jennifer Johnson, a Personal Lines Underwriter. So we are going to ask that everyone keep their speaker on mute. If you have questions, please enter it into the chat, and Jill will answer those during the presentation. Thank you again, and Jill, take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Gina. So this is Jill Showalter, and again, welcome to everyone on the call. Frederick Mutual started working with IMS not quite a year ago, and so far it's been a very successful relationship. Most of our agents have originated out of the Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland Trade Association, and as Gina mentioned, we've really just started to partner with the IIAMC, and that was by design because we are in the process of filing a homeowners product, and that is we were kind of holding things until the homeowners product got approved, and that has taken longer than we anticipated. So we decided to go ahead and move forward with just the commercial offering. So what I will be doing today is going through our agent guide, which is a comprehensive overview of everything related to Frederick Mutual, the class of the business that we write, our program, our homeowners program in the other states. It will of course be a little bit different in North Carolina because of the limitations with what we can offer through because of the bureau state. So it's not quite the same offering, but it will be very similar in appetite. It will some of the coverages will be a little bit different, and some of the we won't have extension endorsements. They'll be it'll be the HE7 and so on. So and as Gina mentioned, if you have any questions as we're going through, you can put it in the chat, and Sharon and Jennifer are going to help me keep an eye on the chat. So going through the agent guide, this is just, I basically want to share with everyone, Frederick Mutual has been in continuous operations since 1843, so 179 years. Frederick Mutual is the 9th oldest insurance company in the country and the 3rd oldest in Maryland. If you can believe it, there are companies older than us in Maryland, one by only 1 year, and the other one has been around quite a bit longer. So there are some pretty old companies out there. We've been, as I said, in continuous operations since 1843, and we have the company has always been based in Frederick, Maryland. And the company only wrote business in Maryland until about 15 years ago when the company expanded into Pennsylvania. And just in recent years, we've expanded into additional states. In 2018, we moved into, 2017, late 2017, we moved into Virginia with our commercial lines products. In 2018, into Delaware and Washington, D.C. with our commercial lines products. And then in 2019, into North Carolina with our commercial lines products. And once we were able to get our secure BOP, which is it's an ISO BOP, get that product launched successfully into our entire operating footprint as well as a commercial umbrella, we've since turned our attention to our homeowners products, and we previously only had a homeowners product in Maryland and Pennsylvania. And we have since replaced that legacy product in Maryland and Pennsylvania with a very current edition of the ISO homeowners product. And we also launched in Virginia with that product. That was a new state for us for personal lines in toward the end of 2021, early Q4 2021, and our next state for expansion is North Carolina. And as I mentioned, we've been working on our filing in North Carolina for a while, ran into some delays with getting some things approved, and the majority of what we've submitted at this point has been approved. There's, I think, just one outstanding form that needs to be approved. So our plan is for North Carolina for homeowners, and also we'll have a personal umbrella product, is that we will be offering our product effective 6/1. And for those of you that are familiar with homeowners in North Carolina, which I'm sure most of you are pretty familiar, there is a rate change that is coming into effective 6/1. So it didn't make sense for us to go live with an effective date prior to 6/1 because we would have had to have loaded 2 different sets of rates. So, and we know that most of the homeowners business is quoted in advance of the effective date. So we're looking at a 6/1 effective date for that homeowners product in North Carolina. We, in addition to our product development, we have also, we are very, very interested in trying to provide, solutions and automation to our policyholders and our agents. And we'll talk about some of those as we go through the presentation, but we have made a lot of improvements in that area. So we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. And there on the screen, you'll see the picture of our board of directors, and we have a really nice mix of individuals on our board. Some of them have been on our board for a number of years, and some have been on our board for a pretty short period of time. And we have a combination of great backgrounds for our board members, and they are very much involved in Frederick Mutual and giving us guidance with regard to kind of the direction of the company and where we're going in the future. And this is our executive team. We do, and we'll talk a little bit about claims, but the claims function is sort of a combination of in-house and independent adjusters. You'll see Bob Pelletier, who's our Vice President and Chief Claims Officer. He is, a Frederick Mutual employee. We have in-house adjusters who are Frederick Mutual employees, and we have some very, very experienced claims adjusters on our staff that handle both property and liability claims. So we are very fortunate to have a very experienced group of adjusters who do a really fantastic job, very responsive and, very knowledgeable about claims and always act on behalf of the policyholder with regard to trying to get, the best settlement in liability claims, and also obviously the very quick responses with policyholders when there are property losses. And we do outsource the independent adjuster feature. So the outside adjusters are contracted, but we do have a limited number of contractors that we work with, and they're nationally known companies that we work with for that feature, and they're very responsive, and we also have some really great engineers that we work with, and I see the reports often, and they do a really, really nice job of providing information back to us on the claims so that the claims can be settled timely. So that's in a nutshell the claims process. So with regard to, this is just sort of a general page with regard to kind of service and payment. So as I mentioned, we have an office in Frederick, Maryland, and that is our quote unquote home office. But we do have a number of folks that work remotely who are not based in Frederick. So we do have people that work for the company that are kind of spread out throughout the footprint. Jennifer, who's on the line, is based in Virginia. I actually live in the Raleigh area in Apex, and Bob, our Chief Claims Officer, lives in the Charlotte area. So we have a number of folks who do not necessarily live in Frederick, and so something you all need something, we do have people kind of peppered throughout the footprint, so we can get to you quickly. And if we need to do a face-to-face meeting, or if there's something going on that we need to get to you and actually see you in person, we can make that happen. And also just helps us because we know a little bit about the local area and what's going on with regulatory issues, or the weather, or anything that's happening at the local level. So, suffice to say, we have obviously a number of folks who are in the Frederick office every day, who answer the phone and are there to help policyholders with their billing questions, or whatever questions they have. We have a help desk that's operational throughout business hours to help agents and policyholders who are having, you know, issues with whatever it is that they're having problems with. We do have a number of pay plans, and those are listed here, and you see the commercial lines pay plans are tied back to the policy premium. The personal lines pay plans are more, a little bit more generous because we have policyholders who, you know, pay monthly through like an automated recurring payment structure. We do have some fees that apply, and the fees in North Carolina, I believe, might be a little bit different. I think the EFT fees, I think, are $3 instead of $5. Actually, I don't think we have the $5 listed there anyway, but and then we have some other fees. One thing that we do offer is a paperless discount, and we do have a portal that is for the policyholders, and you'll see it there under the payment options, myfrederickmutualinsurance.com. It is currently an app that it's not on the Apple Store. It's on the other platform, but it's not. So anyway, it will eventually be available on both of the platforms. But in the interim, policyholders can access that sign up to get access through a web portal. And they can manage their policy documents, they can make payments, they can report claims, and it's a, you know, comprehensive portal for the policyholder to be able to manage their accounts so that they do not need to have the agent's intervention, and they don't necessarily have to have paper copies of their policy because they can access it anytime electronically. And there is a $10 paperless discount for policyholders that register for that feature. And as you can see, there's a number of other ways to make payments online, payments by phone, and so we try to meet everyone's needs. And as you all know, policyholders like to do things differently, and agents like to do things differently. So we try to be flexible with that. I mentioned claims. We do have a 24-hour reporting feature for claims. So if the claim is reported after hours, it does get to, we do have a company that accepts those after-hour claim calls and claim reports. And if it's something that is a, you know, catastrophe or a significant claim like a fire that happens in the middle of the night and the policyholder needs to, you know, seek shelter elsewhere or needs assistance right away, then those get routed to one of our adjusters, either Bob, our Chief Claims Officer, or one of the adjusters, and they will talk with the policyholder and assist them if it's something that happens, you know, off hours, and if it's something that is an emergency that needs immediate attention. So I mentioned technology, and it is something that we are, you know, very much interested in, you know, trying to assist our agents and policyholders with, you know, ease of use and giving them options for our, and this would not apply for the IMS agents because we make the commission payment to IMS, and then of course they transfer the commission payments off to the agents, you know, allocated based on the premium that's written and what commission is earned. But we do have some other features that I want to point out. DocuSign we have, and many agencies have their own DocuSign account, but we allow agents that don't have their own DocuSign account to use the Frederick Mutual DocuSign account. So if you have contractors that are out in the field, out on the job, and they need to be able to sign something electronically, the agents can use our DocuSign to get that done. Right now, we are getting ready to introduce in the next couple of weeks Ivan's download for personal lines, and at some point later in 2022, we will have Ivan's download for commercial lines. So the Ivan's download for personal lines is coming very soon, and we are just about ready to go live with PL rating for the comparative rater, and we polled our agents, and while there are many different comparative raters out there, the majority of them use either PL rating or EasyLinks. We are going with PL rating first, and then we're looking to introduce an integration with EasyLinks down the road. But for now, we have PL rating, and that's actually going to be going live in the next few days. So this is just a product availability, and this is, you know, something that changes all the time, but just to give you an idea of all the products that we have. So I mentioned we have our Secure BOP, which is an ISO BOP, and we'll go through the eligible class codes here in a minute. The Secure BOP policy is available in our entire operating footprint. as is the commercial umbrella, and that's also an ISO umbrella. Those are available Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, DC, and North Carolina. Currently, we have a commercial auto policy that is available only in Maryland and Pennsylvania. But we will be in 2022 bringing online a commercial auto policy in North Carolina and Virginia, and revamping the product that's available currently in Maryland and Pennsylvania. So that's under construction for North Carolina. The home, secure home that I mentioned, so we have an HO2, HO3, HO4, and HO6, and then in North Carolina, we'll have the HO3 and with the HE7 attachment available. And we did that instead of offering the HO5 since it's very similar to the HO5. So that is currently available in Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, will very, very soon be available in North Carolina. And then we've moved Delaware and DC up in the mix, and those we're working on the homeowners product for those two states right now. We needed to kind of reshuffle the deck as far as the development goes, and so those are coming soon. Dwelling fire, right now we have a dwelling fire product in Maryland, and we have kind of moved that up in the order of development. So we are right now in the process of developing our dwelling fire product for Maryland, which will replace what we currently have in Maryland, and then we're going to be expanding that into Pennsylvania, Virginia, and North Carolina. So at some point in 2022, there will be a dwelling fire product in North Carolina as well. Same thing with the personal umbrella. Yeah.
It's Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
They want to know if they can get a copy of the presentation. It looks like it's being recorded, so I'm assuming that we'll send it out to everyone participating.
Absolutely. Yep. We can send the this is our agent guide, so we can send this out to everyone so that you have a copy of it, so you can discuss it with your staff or review it in detail. So you'll have it available. So we'll make sure we get a copy of this out to everyone. And yeah, it is being recorded, so I'm sure that the recording will also be available. All right. So personal umbrella. Again, that will align with the homeowners product, with the implementation of the homeowners product in the various states. So our intention is to offer the personal umbrella as well. And then these are just sort of some of the additional coverages that we offer on our secure BOP policy, as well as on our secure home policy. There is what I'll call equipment breakdown, which is home systems protection on the secure home and dwelling fire. But that is one of the endorsements that's offered on both of those policies, and it automatically attaches when there's building coverage. So it's pretty much on just about every homeowner's policy, with the exception of an HO4, and we also have some other liability coverages that are offered. We have a contractor's E&O coverage, which is available on the majority of the contracting classes that we write. We have a miscellaneous professional coverage that's available on a list of the secure BOP classes that we write, and we'll get into the class codes in just a minute. And we also offer EPL coverage on any class of business. And as I mentioned, we've got the home systems protection on secure home and dwelling fire available there. We offer service line coverage on secure home and dwelling fire. And then we have a flood coverage that's being offered on both the homeowner's policy as well as the BOP policy. And that is subject to eligibility. And it's for those risks that are not in a like a flood zone X, but for policyholders that still want flood coverage, but and they don't have to place it with the NFIP. And then the last coverage listed there is actually not a coverage, it's really a service. It's business risk protection, and that is for our secure BOP policy, and it is a pretty affordable offering where it's $20. The policyholder can submit their existing contracts and get feedback on how they can improve their contracts, or they can create contracts. So if it's an apartment complex that would like to create contracts, or somebody owns a dwelling and they want to rent it out and they need to create a contract for that, or they are a contractor and they're going to, sub out work to someone, they can create a subcontractor agreement for their sub. So it's unique to, it goes through an algorithmic process. It's unique to the policyholder based on their needs and their operations. So it's a very nice feature, and that's something that we just added at the beginning of this year. So go through the target markets for our secure BOP policy first, and then we'll get into homeowners. So for our BOP policy, we one of the areas, one of the market segments that we write, where we write a lot of business is apartments and condominiums. We write apartment complexes. We write dwellings that are rented. We write townhouse associations, and we also write condominium associations. And you'll see, and I'll just, kind of forewarn everyone here, so you'll see sort of a very high-level overview of the eligibility at the top of the page for each one of these market segments. And just know that is just sort of a general guide. We can write values that are over 15 million. The 6-story or less is kind of, that's a kind of a set underwriting guideline. That ties back to the ISO eligibility, but the valuation, we can write higher values. And Sharon's on the call. Sharon writes a lot of these type of risks in in North Carolina as well as in other states. And so really just we need to get reinsurance once the values go up over 2 million. So at a single location. So we sometimes it depends on our reinsurers and what pricing we get from reinsurance, or if reinsurance is available. Typically, reinsurance is available. We've only had a couple of circumstances where it wasn't. There have been a few times where it just wasn't cost effective, so we ended up not writing the risk. But for the most part, we are able to accommodate larger exposures beyond that 15 million TIV. And this is just, again, these are condominium offices, so this would be just, office exposures that are in a condominium as opposed to like a lesser's risk exposure. Under the artisan contractors, we do write a lot of contractors, and that's been, a market segment that Frederick Mutual has been very successful in writing, and we do have a pretty broad appetite there. So it's up to $1 million in payroll, and it indicates here 3 years in business. We will write new ventures, but we do ask that and require that if it is a new venture, that the owner of the business has some experience in the trade that they are, opening the business in. So if they're an electrician, then, they should have been an electrician working for someone else, and now they've decided to open their own business, or, whatever their trade is. We're not looking for someone who used to be a teacher and now they're, going to be an electrician. So we want somebody that has some experience in the trade. This just shows our per owner officer payroll by state, because we do write a lot of individuals that don't have employees, and they do include themselves for coverage. We do have a contractor's extension endorsement, and there are 2 different options under that endorsement, and it provides coverage that isn't on the base ISO BOP form. And here's the grid, so you can see the coverages that are included. And most of these coverages are the coverages that contractors need to fulfill their requirements for any contracts that they're entering into as a sub. So it's, the blanket additional insured and waiver of subrogation. We automatically include some installation coverage and tools coverage, and property in transit, and we have the per location and per project aggregate and included there, as well as the primary non-contributory. So those are again, just extensions, and the premium is $200 or $300 depending on which limit they choose. It's a great selling feature, and most agents like to include this on the policy whenever possible, because it just means that the policyholder won't have to call the agent every time they need to add somebody as an additional insured, or add one of these coverages on when they have it required by contract. This is the beginning of the list of all of the eligible class codes. In general, in the contracting sector, we will write, the artisan contractors, so plumbers, HVAC, carpentry. We do write residential roofers. We write cleaning services. We do flat concrete, appliance installation, door, fence, and siding. So basically, just kind of as a general rule, we don't write any contractors that do like excavation work or site prep work. So really no digging. We don't do like cable installation, that type of thing. So it's really just your, the artisan contractors that, are out there working every day in everyone's homes or, on projects and commercial projects. We don't write general contractors, and we define that as any contractor that subs more than 25% we consider to be a general contractor. So that is, kind of where we draw the line with regard to general contractors. We want those contractors who are self-performing the majority of the work. And as you can see, we have a number of eligible class codes in the contracting segment. The other segment that we write a lot of is office buildings. We write a lot of lesser's risk and office exposures. One of the things I will mention that kind of ties back to the lesser's risk exposure is we will do mixed use. So we'll do those exposures where there's, maybe an office or a retail store or service operation on the ground level, and then there's an apartment upstairs. We will write that type of exposure, and we will also, we don't write standalone restaurants. So restaurants are not an eligible class, but we will if it's part of the lesser's risk. So most shopping centers have a restaurant somewhere in the shopping center. So if it's a restaurant that is a tenant in the lesser's risk, then that's acceptable. But we won't write the restaurant as a standalone exposure. And as you can see, we have a number of class codes that are eligible under this segment as well. The other class is processing and service, and one of the interesting that we have a laundry picture there. We just recently added Bailey's coverage that is now available for the dry cleaning classes. So that is something that's relatively new, and we got feedback from our agents that was something that they really wanted and needed. So we've just recently made that as an offering. So here are the rest of the service classes. We do tend to write, like barbershops and beauty salons, and I know like I mentioned that we do write some dry cleaners, and I think funeral homes, we write some of those as well. I'm not sure how some of these classes, I'm not sure how widely used these are anymore. I think printers have kind of, that's maybe not such a big class code that's out there any longer. So many things aren't printed on paper these days, but same with engraving. But anyway, that's the list of eligible classes. And then we also write retail. And again, it's up to 35,000 square feet, 10 million in annual sales. So it's pretty sizable appetite there. And that's 25% gross sales from off-premises operations. So that would tie to like internet sales, or if they're had another location set up somewhere else. I think it's probably mostly like internet sales. And we have pretty broad, appetite here. And one thing I will point out is, so it always kind of throws me off. So dairy products or butter and egg stores, that's ice cream stores. So that is ice cream shops are an eligible exposure. It just kind of shows up in a little bit of an unusual place. So again, pretty broad appetite here, and we do write a number of retail operations. And once we get into some of the other endorsements that we offer, you'll see how some of this ties all together. Wholesale and distributor, I would say we don't write a ton of these because it is a somewhat limited appetite. And so, this probably would be a good fit for, maybe a local operation, but maybe probably not an operation that has a more regional flavor to it. We just, under the BOP, there just aren't coverages available that a lot of wholesale and distributor operations need. But we do have a pretty long list of those that we can rate. So, I mentioned that there is some of the additional coverages. So we've got cyber suite coverage, which this is something that is available on the BOP policy, and it's a pretty extensive coverage, and it is not that expensive. And we actually automatically attach this on all of our quotes, and it can be removed if the agency or the policyholder doesn't want to include it. But what we find is that, statistically, small businesses are, have more cyber attacks or attempts at cyber attacks anyway than larger corporations do. So this is something that we highly recommend that BOP policyholders get for their businesses, because most business owners don't have the time or the expertise to deal with a cyber breach, and it can, as I'm sure many of you know, be quite extensive and quite damaging to a business, and they get into things like ransom payments and things like that. So it can actually, I'm guessing, could probably either cause a business to close their doors or, certainly debilitate them for a long period of time. As I mentioned, we've got the commercial inland flood coverage, and as I said, it's not in an A or a V zone, and it's a pretty nice coverage. There's coverage available for like sewer overflow and extra expenses and business personal property, and I know some of that is limited on the NFIP policies, and this is actually a little bit broader than the NFIP to what's covered under this form. So it is a really nice coverage. As I mentioned, we offer the EPLI coverage for any risk, and there are varying, optional limits between $25,000 and $250,000, and that includes defense costs and the deductibles between $2,500 and $25,000. And we don't sell a lot of that, but it is, again, a coverage that we highly recommend that business owners buy, because again, legal defense is provided, and it's not something that most business owners have the expertise or the capacity to take on themselves. As I mentioned, we've got the miscellaneous professional, and we'll get to a list of the eligible classes for that, and also the contractor's E&O, and we'll get to a list of the classes that are eligible for that. This is the Tech Advantage, the equipment breakdown. As I mentioned, this is another coverage that most of our policyholders do, choose to accept, and it is something that we see, not a lot of claims, but we do see claims for it. And again, it's something that we highly recommend just because of the coverages that are provided, the data restoration, public relations, if there's a risk, a claim that helps the business protect their reputation. There's some cyber in here as well, and again, just a very, very broad and very much needed coverage. As I mentioned, we have commercial umbrella, and the limits available there between $1 and $5 million. We must write the underlying BOP in order to write the umbrella, so we don't write monoline umbrella. And as I mentioned, commercial auto is coming to North Carolina and Virginia later this year, and that is also not available on a monoline basis. We have to write at minimum the BOP policy for that to be eligible, and we do pull MVRs on the drivers at every renewal, and of course underwrite them for new business. And the appetite on the commercial auto, just as a kind of a preview of what this will be in North Carolina. It's less than 5 power units, and that doesn't include trailers. So we're looking at not fleets of vehicles and those that are driving in a local radius. So it's your contractors that have their their service and work vehicles, and any other operation that would have like a service vehicle, like maybe an apartment complex owner who has a person on staff that does light maintenance and drives around from complex to complex, that type of exposure. And I mentioned that the business risk protection, and I think I've already explained that, so I won't go into a whole lot of detail there, but as I mentioned, it is a service that will produce legal documents for business owners, and it is something that is unique to that particular individual business. So it is a really nice feature, and that's something that's brand new. So these are the contractors E&O eligible classes. As I mentioned, it's a pretty broad offering here with the classes that are eligible. In the quoting process, this coverage will automatically attach if one of these classes is on the quote. So we're automatically attaching it. Again, the user can opt to remove it, but it is automatically attached, and something that many of our agents offer to the policyholder. So it is something that we find to be a very valuable coverage. And then this is the miscellaneous professional classes. Of the classes that we write, I think probably the ones that would probably buy this most frequently would be like the barbers and beauticians, cosmetologists. I think we do have some funeral directors, some flower shops, and so on. And again, this is a really nice coverage that is available as to protect the business from a professional liability exposure. And then also on the bottom, we have 2 different extension endorsement options, and this is just a side-by-side comparison. And as you can see, what it lists where there's coverage on the base form, and then with the 2 different options of the extension endorsements, if the coverage is expanded, what the coverage expansion is, or if there's no coverage on the base form, then we're extending additional coverage under the Secure Plus and the Secure Advantage endorsements. And these are, pretty common coverages that I think most of you will see in the industry on extension endorsements. And we're actually working on an update to this that will add a few coverages onto this from what we're currently available. And this would be for your classes and market segments other than contractors. The contractor extension endorsement goes, with the contracting classes, and this is kind of for all other classes of business. And there's also some liability coverages there with, bail bonds, loss burning, the per location aggregate, primary non-contributory. So you get that on this extension endorsement for your other than contractor classes. So into homeowners, and since we don't have a homeowners product in North Carolina yet, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because it is going to be a little bit different. However, I will share. So in this guide, the Maryland and Pennsylvania offering is different than Virginia, and the reason why is because Virginia is, at this point, they're getting ready to adopt a more current edition of the ISO form, but for right now, they're still on an older, a 1991 edition of the ISO form. So some of the coverages that are available in Maryland and Pennsylvania are not available in Virginia, but that's probably somewhat irrelevant because North Carolina will be different. So just talk a little bit about some of the eligibility here that will convey through to North Carolina. So a couple things here that I want to point out. So we will write risks that have trampolines. We will also write risks that have swimming pools. There are some underwriting criteria that ties to that. For the trampolines, they need to be in a fenced yard, and we're looking for the more modern, I'll call them trampolines that have, safety net and don't have exposed springs and that type of thing. For pools, again, the pool or the yard has to be fenced with a locking gate or, some sort of locking mechanism that would prohibit someone from getting into the pool without being allowed into the area. And diving boards and slide boards are not allowed either. So those are some of the just criteria around that. We will also write homes over 100 years old, and probably won't see this maybe quite as much in North Carolina, but certainly in Maryland and Pennsylvania we see it a lot because a lot of there are a lot of homes that are quite old that we see on a pretty regular basis. But we'll write homes that are over 100 years old, and they just have to be updated. And by that, we just need to verify that, all of the plumbing, wiring, all of that has been updated. We prefer that they've been, kind of taken down to the studs and can be verified that all the updates have been made. But we will accept copies of, whatever contractor receipts or photos, and we have a number of ways that we can verify that we will accept work permits and so on. We do offer a personal umbrella, and the options there are a $1 million or $2 million limit, and we will extend our umbrella over other carriers' personal auto policies. Frederick Mutual does not write personal auto, so we write, as I mentioned, homeowners. We're going to be adding the dwelling fire in states other than Maryland, and but we will write the personal umbrella policy over other carriers' personal auto policies. We do underwrite it similar to if we were the personal auto carrier. We do pull MVRs. We do need to get updated, driver's lists, vehicle lists every year. So we do just have to get updated information on those umbrella policies every year. Some of the other coverages that we offer on the homeowners policy, and this will be true as well in North Carolina. We have a matching of undamaged roof surfacing and a matching of undamaged siding coverage that we will be offering in North Carolina. The home cyber we will be offering in North Carolina, service line, inland flood, and we'll have wind and hail and hurricane deductibles, and those will apply to the coastal, per our coastal guidelines. And we can certainly talk about that. I'm guessing we might have some questions on coastal. And we do have some extension endorsements that are offered on the homeowners policies. Unfortunately, those are not going to be available in North Carolina. We did try to get a version of that filed and approved in North Carolina, and unfortunately we weren't able to get it approved. So it's not something that we're going to be able to offer in North Carolina, but we do have the HE7. So that does fill some of the gaps. As I mentioned, we will have a dwelling fire policy available in North Carolina. I'm not sure, some of the criteria that's listed here might change a little bit, but we will have the home systems protection and the service line coverage available on the dwelling fire in all of the states where we write dwelling fire, so that will be part of the program in North Carolina. And it is 1 to 4 family dwellings that are eligible, and we prefer property managers, and that's kind of getting into the weeds, so I won't get into that a whole lot, but just know that pretty much the criteria here is going to be most likely pretty much the same as to what gets filed in North Carolina. And I'm not going to get into this because this is not something that's going to be offered in North Carolina, other than, these coverages that are listed here, they won't be part of a bundle, but they will be available on on a monthly basis, or I know some of these are actually part of the HE7 too, so just know that while these coverages won't be bundled together as an extension endorsement, the coverages will be available otherwise.
Jill?
Yeah.
We have someone that wants to know if we will write log homes.
So the answer is yes. However, we will, that would be something that would refer to the underwriter. So, there would be some, we would need to review, the limits and the protection class and water source and so on. So those would be kind of on a case-by-case basis, not necessarily all of them are going to be eligible. All right, so, yeah, of course. So, you know, a lot of what's on this page is not necessarily going to apply in North Carolina, again, because this is the Virginia edition, and many of these coverages will be available. There won't be bundles, but many of these will be available by, you know, by just an a la carte endorsement feature or through the HE7. All right. So let's skip over these because these are definitely not going to apply. As I mentioned, we've got inland flood for personal lines as an offering, and again, this is a pretty nice coverage. There's, you know, coverage for other structures. There is basement or sunken room. That type of a construction is eligible, and debris removal, which, you know, could, I'm sure, be pretty significant in the event of a flood. And we talked about service line. I think most people are familiar with service line. I know this was something that was introduced a few years ago, and I think most carriers offer it now. It's something that we've been offering for a while, and this is just the, you know, coverage for the underground service lines that lead into the home. There's coverage for those lines that rupture or break, and oftentimes it's, you know, the sewer lines or the water lines that, again, depending on kind of the age of where the home is, some of those going back to, you know, the early 1900s were like, say, pipe lines that tend to not stand up over time. And there's, again, that's going to be available on the homeowners product as well as the dwelling fire product when we launch that. I mentioned we have home cyber coverage, and this will be available in North Carolina on the homeowners policy, and the, you know, kind of headers of the coverage here. Cyber attack, which is something that we, you know happens a lot. It happens to, you know, individuals as well as businesses. Cyber extortion, where, you know, somebody's computer was taken over, and the person who took it over says, well, you have to pay me $500 to get control of your computer back. Identity recovery. This is something that I think is probably the most common form of a cyber attack. Is, you know, somebody takes over somebody else's identity. I know this happened a lot with tax returns. I know there's been a lot of fraud related to people's tax returns where someone has assumed their identity for the purposes of submitting a tax return, and obviously that is something that, you know, is included here. And then online fraud, and that's just when kind of just a general, you know, fraud coverage for, you know, anytime there's included in that identity theft, unauthorized use of a credit card or an account number, or, you know, forging a check. So it's kind of a general fraud coverage for that relates to the cyber exposure. And as I already mentioned, we've got the home systems protection coverage, and, you know, again, this is a really nice coverage. There's, you know, spoilage coverage, and I know this probably would be something that would be needed in, you know, states like North Carolina, where there are, you know, storms, not just hurricanes, but other storms that, you know, sometimes take out the systems to a home. You know, there's a brownout or you know, a circuit breaker blows or something, or a transformer blows and you know, damages the home equipment. So we do see, you know, claims that come in for this type of exposure. All right, that is the end of this presentation, and I'm just going to go back up to the homepage. And I know we got a couple of questions in the chat, and we will just open it up if there are any other questions that we can answer. All right, so coastal guidelines. So without going into detail here, so just in general, we are in the counties where that are eligible for coverage to be written in the wind pool. And it's somewhat, I guess, convoluted, and I don't want to get into a whole lot of detail here. That's probably something that we would want to. We haven't gotten our final manual approved in North Carolina, so I don't want to get into too much detail because it could potentially change once we get our final approval. But once we get our final approval, for some of the counties and that are further inland from those counties that are part of what I'll call, Tier 1 or the NCJUA, NCIUA counties that are eligible for the wind coverage through the state. Are there any other questions? So I know that we've gotten several inquiries from Gina where members have reached out to her with specific risks that they were looking to place, and I know in a couple of situations we've had some additional discussions with those agents about those risks. In fact, we're working with one agency that reached out to us a couple weeks ago, and we're actually, Sharon's been working on a couple of accounts with that particular agency, and they're getting appointed through IMS. And so I think everybody's familiar with the process to reach out to IMS. There was a form that they ask everyone to complete if you're not already a member, and that comes over to us. And the way that our process works for new agency appointments is that typically what we do is we will set up a Zoom call with the prospective agency member and have a call with them just to talk about, what our offerings are, if there are specific accounts they wanted to discuss, and kind of find out what their needs are, and just make sure that it's going to be a good fit for both the agency and for Frederick Mutual. So, and we will have the underwriters on those calls, and in some cases we have done test quotes to just make sure that, we're going to be able to be competitive with the other carriers that particular agency works with, and also that we have the coverages that will match up with what they're looking for.
Well, Jill, thank you, and Sharon and Jennifer for sharing information today on Frederick Mutual products. We look forward to working with you all. And members, thank you for your time. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to learn more about Frederick Mutual and their products. If, as Jill mentioned, you would like to be considered for a Frederick Mutual contract, and you're not a current IMS member, please go to our IMS website, www.imsaccess.com, and complete the application. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you are a current IMS participant, just shoot me an email and let me know that you would like to be in touch with Jill regarding possible appointment. So again, thank you all for your time. If there's anything we can do to help you, please feel free to reach out.
All right, well, thank you again so much, Gina, for setting this up, and thank you for all the members for attending and for your time and your questions. When we go live with our homeowners product in North Carolina, of course, we'll be making a big announcement about that, and we look forward to working with you all.
Great. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.